Welcome to Behind the Camera, the channel that tells the story behind the camera. Just to say thanks to anyone who came to my talk at the Slough Museum. It had a very good response. The Slough Museum provided a cake for the 60th anniversary, and it was great to see Dee Anderson and Mary Turner again and meet some of the fans. Cutting the cake to celebrate the 60th anniversary was a great moment. If you'd like to see all the episodes of Thunderbirds, including the ones I worked on as Director of Photography, go to ITV Retro on YouTube, the last 3 episodes. This week's episode is the second part of my talk that will become a book about how Thunderbirds was created. In a world of AI, I think people are going to actually forget how things were made. My intention is to make a record of how Thunderbirds was made with blood, sweat, tears and gaffer tape. Introducing Thunderbirds starts with the classic Tracy Island shot. This was filmed on what's called an infinity tank.
To try and understand what an infinity tank is, think of those pools in hotels where the water runs over the edge to create a horizon.
Here we see the original crew filming on the studio tank. Pinewood Studios has a huge infinity tank. It's called the Paddock Tank, and it takes its name from the area of the studio complex. It was built in 1959. The background leans back at a 15-degree angle to catch the sunlight.
We built our own tank using pond liner and sandbags. Here we see Hilton filling the bags with sand. When the tank is full, you need to add blue poster paint to the water, otherwise you can see the bottom of the tank is black. Some people in the crew ended up with blue legs because the poster paint colour transferred to their skin. Years ago, me and my friend Matthew T. Van had a go at building our own version of the Paddock tank in my mum's back garden.
I think we broke my mum's Hoover doing that stingray explosion type of thing.
I think so, yeah.
Because we had it on blow.
Yeah.
And I think it didn't work properly after that. We got in trouble.
But that looked great though. I mean, the sacrifice of the Hoover aside, I mean, it was actually, I think that worked out pretty well as again, for what it is.
Of course, we had to go to the shop again and get the food dye,
Yes,
the blue food
blue
dye.
food dye now.
And you just keep putting more and more bottles of, and it just doesn't change colour.
No.
It did turn blue. If you don't put blue dye in the tank, you can see the bottom of the tank. We actually had to put the painted sky in the water rather than...
Right, yeah.
Normally you have a tank and then you have a gap and then the sky is... We couldn't do that. You kind of get away with it. You can see the water lapping against the end of the sky.
Let's get back to the island and see how it's made. When the tank has been constructed, the model is made. It's probably carved out of polystyrene. This is Hilton carving out a bit of mountain, similar to how they would have constructed the original island. This is a replica of Tracy Island created by Martin Bauer for the 1994 Blackpool exhibition. It's interesting to see the back of the Tracy Island, never seen in the original programme. In my teens, I used to make films with my friend Matthew T. Van. If we were not making films, we used to sit on this wall at the bottom of our road and dream of our next project. At that time, your parents used to say, "Come in when the street lights come on." This was not an exact time, as the lights used to change from reddish to orange. In our school holidays, we used to watch Robinson Crusoe on TV. It reminded us of Tracy Island. I sort of feel like I've actually been to Tracy Island because Andy Rolfe and Dave Mason created a 360-degree set of Tracy Island. Sometimes in the breaks in filming, I really felt like I was on Tracy Island because everywhere you looked was the set.
It was also very hot under the lights, so you really did feel like you visited the island.
So returning to the episode, after the island shot, you see a stock shot of palm trees with the title superimposed over the top. You can also see it in an episode of Stingray called The Hostages of the Deep. I don't know where this shot comes from. If you spot it in the movie, let me know. I love Stingray and would love to recreate an episode. The next shot you see is a high-angle shot of Lady Penelope's yacht. The reason we shot from a high angle is that it's a very small scale model created by David Tremont from a Vosper radio controlled model boat kit. Now we see a shot of the side of the yacht with reflections of the water. This is created by pointing a light at a plastic box full of water, then moving the water around. Hilton Fitzsimmons and crew created the most amazing sets for this scene. I love the detail of putting FAB on the lifebuoy. The next set shows the inside of Lady Penelope's yacht, also created by Hilton, Richard Gregory and crew. To make this set, they used the same girders as in the Abominable Snowman ice cave scene. Along with the public scale set, we created a miniature set to match. I used these lights called dado lights that run at 12 volts. If the lights drop in the water, you would not get an electric shock. Pretty much the safest way to film water using lights. It's great when the puppet scale sets match the miniature sets in every detail. Fab 1 being lowered, I think was done by someone with their hand just under the water pushing upwards. Shot at 95 frames per second, it really smooths out any bumps. The sound effects are taken from Stingray. I'd love to tell you that we had really sophisticated rigs to film these models, but in reality sometimes we move them on wires and sometimes we just skim them across the water like a skimming stone. In slow motion it really looked like Fab 1 was propelling itself. For this shot we used back projection using a digital projector showing a moving sky shot that we filmed earlier. We splashed real water on the side of the car to make it look more real. To achieve this shot of Fab 1 driving up the ramp, a small piece of clear perspex was added under the water at the end of the ramp and the car was pulled up by a wire. This is Richard Gregory adding weathering to the ramp miniature. The palm trees in this shot are poked through the set and are hooked up to a system of pieces of wood to enable the trees to move at the same time. There is a tiny miniature of Jeff that helps the cut to the puppet shot. The shots of Fab 1 are shot 96 frames per second. Not as slow as the explosions at 120 frames per second. It was slightly surreal filming Tracy Island in a studio at night.
Some days we even left with a bit of a tan. Anyway, thanks for joining me on Tracy Island. Please like and subscribe to find out more on the next episode. Before AI replaces everything, I'm recording how Thunderbirds was made. With blood, sweat, tears and gaffer tape. Part of the legacy of Thunderbirds. Shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you'll end up in the stars. Hello, my name's David Hicks. I was director of photography on Thunderbirds, filmed in Supermarination, and the much loved studio documentary in Slough. To celebrate the 60th anniversary of Thunderbirds, I'm writing a book, a kind of step-by-step guide as to how to make a Thunderbirds episode. To publish the book, I'm creating a Kickstarter campaign. 10 years ago, I was part of a campaign to adapt 3 mini-albums into episodes. It became the UK's most successful Kickstarter campaign. Now I'm creating my own Kickstarter. I'm writing a book about how Thunderbirds was made. When we were filming Thunderbirds, my children visited the set. They still talk about it. I hope my children enjoy reading about their dad being part of the legacy, which is Thunderbirds. As part of the book, we're going to be recreating the classic Thunderbird 2 launch. I've actually done this before when I was 13 years old with my best friend Matthew T-Van. So I've done it before, can do it again. This time it's in 4K. If you'd like to see a book about how Thunderbirds is made, please like and subscribe and make a comment. Thanks for watching.